Hello guys, welcome back to literature classes. This is Abhinasha. Guys, today I am going to discuss with you communication, the topic that is related to communication. So first of all, when we are going to study this topic, communication, first of all, we need to know what is communication. And in this very video, I will only discuss about the basic things about the communication, like what is communication, what is the origin of communication, I would say, or what are the types of communication, in which method we can communicate, right? So without doing a further delay, let's move right into the topic. The topic is communication. The topic is communication. So let me tell you what is communication. So communication is a word which has been derived from a word communicare. The word communicare. The word communicare is the word of a Latin language. The word communication has been derived from the word communicare. The communicare is a word which has been derived from the Latin language, which means to share, to transmit, to share or to transmit. What to share or what to transmit? To share thoughts, to share the ideas, to share the views, to share the message, to share the information, right? So communication means when we are trying to communicate, when we are trying to say anything, when we are trying to make somebody understand what exactly I want to say, right? So communication basically is the process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, messages, or feelings between people, between two people or more than two people, right? So and through the communication, what we will get some ideas or information, right? There are many authors, there are many legends who has given the definition of communication. The first definition I would like to tell you, that is, communication is the sum of all things one person does when he wants to create understanding in the mind of another. Communication is the sum of all things one person does when he wants to create understanding. When he wants to create understanding means when he wants to make the person understand what exactly he wants to say. Right? This definition is given by Louis A. Allen. Louis A. Allen. Let me give you some another definition of communication. So communication is basically is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. Very simple, very basic definition of communication. Communication means to share the ideas, to share the information, to share the thoughts, right? So that we somebody or the listener or the audience can get the information, right? This definition, communication is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another, is the definition given by Keith Davis. Keith Davis. So understood the topic, what is communication? This is the basic definition of communication. There are many types of communication. There are, you can say, many methods to communicate or to share our ideas or thoughts. Like I can say verbal communication. The first type you can say is verbal communication. This is the first topic. This is the first type of communication, that is verbal communication. Second type of the communication is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication. The third type of communication is visual communication. Visual communication. And the fourth type of communication is digital communication. The fourth type of communication is digital communication, right? The first type of communication is verbal communication. So what is this verbal communication? When we are using words, when we are using our language, when we are using in any written language or verbal language to communicate our thoughts, to share some information to another person. Then this is called verbal. Verbal means when we are using spoken language, when we are using written language, when we are using words, when we are using any thing that can be either written or can be spoken, right? Texting, you can say, writing, you can say, speaking, you can say, that is under the verbal communication. Second is non-verbal communication, where we are not using any words, where we are not using any words, where we are not speaking anything, where we are not writing anything, but what we are doing, we are using non-verbal we are using non-verbal things. Non-verbal things like body language, like facial expressions, like eye contact you are making, hand gestures, postures, standing position, right? So these comes under the non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication when we are not speaking, when we are not using verbal things. That means either words or writing, either spoken or written, right? So that is non-verbal communication. What can be used here in non-verbal communication? We can communicate through our facial expression. We can speak, we can share our information through gestures, through symbols, through pictures, right? Facial expressions, body language, that is non-verbal communication. Third is visual communication. Visual communication when we are using symbols, when we are using images, when we are using some charts, pictures. So that is called visual communication. That is called visual communication. Visual communication is the method of communication when we are trying to make other people understand more clearly, so that he won't create any misunderstanding or any confusion, right? The fourth one is digital communication. Digital communication when we are trying to communicate through emails, through social media platforms, or through video calls, right? Like whenever we are unable to speak or face to face at the time, you can say physically, so we use our social media platforms like video calls, right? When we are communicating professionally, we want to share any message professionally, then what we do, we share the emails, right? We write the message in the email box and then we share it. So that is called digital communication. Digital communication. So what is communication? Communication is basically the transmitting of thoughts, you can say sharing ideas, information to another person. Communication can be communication is basically two-way process. First one can be sender, you can say, and the another is receiver, you can say, right? Sender is the person who wants to communicate, who initiates the message, who initiates the information, and the receiver is the person who listens the information, the message, thoughts, or who receives or reads the information, that is called receiver. So communication is a two-way process. Either sender is present, either receiver is present or not, that is not mandatory, but receiver should be there in your whole communication process. Then only communication can be completed. If you are alone, if you want to communicate anything to yourself, at the same time there will be a sender also who will listen that if you are talking to yourself, at that time you is the sender and you is only the receiver. At the same time you are a receiver. Means communication is a two-way process. It cannot be completed if the sender is only present or if the receiver is only present, right? So this is the communication. Communication is basically transmitting the thoughts or sharing the ideas, right? Communication is of four types: verbal communication, non-verbal communication, visual communication, and digital communication. So in the next video, I will talk about the elements of communication, or you can say process of communication, how communication begins, right? What is the process exactly? What the elements are required to communicate, to complete our information, or to initiate our information, or how to start communication. This we will learn in the next video, right? So for this time, I hope you would have understood the topic communication. Basically, I had given you a basic idea what is communication. In the next video, I will talk about the elements or the process of communication. Thank you.